everybody. Hello. My name is Margaret Pinard. I'm a historical fiction and fantasy author. Thank you for coming by my channel. You are on Booktube. And here is my delightful cozy mug, the book of which I actually saw on a bookshelf in a bookstore yesterday. This font and everything. I was like, that's my mug on a book. It was a very big surprise, so I was very excited. But yes, we're going cozy vibes. Thanks for the couple people who voted in the poll, the early birds. I've got, let's see if I can do this backwards. They're little book spines. And I got these as a gift, and they're lovely cozy earrings. So we went with cozy mood today. But we're covering 3 moods for fall book recommendations: cozy, witchy, and dark academia. So hopefully one of those covers your reading preferences when fall hits. And I'm in Portland, and it definitely just hit like last weekend. So we're in fall, which means we get to spend some lovely time reading and drinking tea and featuring candles. I'm trying to be like Desiree from Coffee Reading Writing, because she always has a lovely scented candle going during her videos. So hopefully that'll work here. Hi, everybody who showed up. Anita, hello. And Laura. Ooh, Laura has the book. Oh my gosh. You have to tell me if you thought it was good. Funny. I don't know. I have no idea what to expect. It's a diary, so it could be fictional or real. And Leslie says cute earrings. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll because the early birds got to decide. We'll do that and then move on with our book recommendations. So I had a really great post gain some traction in the Facebook group about current reads, so we'll get into that a bit later. I will also cover a little bit of a Wednesday wrap-up. There's 2 books, and they are both ARCs, Advanced Reading Copies. I will cover that at the end, so if you're here for normal Wednesday wrap-up content, it will be at the end. So you're going to get some fall book recommendations first. And here's the deal. I have made overlays. There's a lot. If you saw the thumbnail, that's all of the books in one form or another. And we're going to start out with cozy, one of my favorite fall moods. And this is where I'm getting this from, this random brainstorm session. So cozy, when you want tea, when you want the feeling of a fireplace, maybe you have a crackle video on your laptop, perhaps, because you're not allowed to have a fireplace in your city. What do I recommend? Okay, first one is a pretty recent read, so many people who have been here lately will not be surprised. Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. And you will notice I have books that are square and books that are book-sized in the overlays. That indicates whether I listen to them on audio, like this one, or in book form, either ebook or physical book. We do not discriminate here. All reading is reading, so I'll let you know if I liked this version especially. And the answer is yes here. So Bookshops and Bone Dust is cozy fantasy. It is the prequel to Legends and Lattes, which is super hyped, super popular, big on TikTok reads. And Travis Baldree is a professional narrator who decided to write a book, and that was his first foray, and it was hugely successful. He's been picked up by Tor. So success story for an author, but also a really great narrator and really great cozy fantasy vibes. So yes. Cozy fall book recommendation number 1. Then I've got, switching into not recent, a classic. So this is Helene Hunt's 84 Charing Cross Road. And the reason this is cozy, so cozy fantasy is low stakes, everyday obstacles, lots of world building. 84 Charing Cross Road is actually nonfiction. It's a series of letters written back and forth between a woman who's ordering rare books after World War II, like in the early 60s mostly. And the booksellers in London who are satisfying these orders, and how the friendship grows up around this transactional relationship. And the reason it's cozy is because it transports the reader to a previous type of world where people's personalities came out in their communications, handwritten communications. And you could grow into a real life friendship from something that was a business relationship in a charming way, not a creepy way. So there are a few sequels to 84 Charing Cross Road, and those are on my wish list. So if anyone in my family is watching, I would take this in any form. It's lovely and heartwarming. And it's very short, if you're looking for a short read that isn't long and arduous. My next one is also quite a while ago for my reading in terms of booktube history. This is like one of the first books I got from Libro.fm as an ARC. This is Miss Austen by Jill Hornby, and it's read by Juliet Stevenson. Now, for my generation, the narrator totally made this book for me. Juliet Stevenson will forever be the character in Bend It Like Beckham, who says, "Get your lesbian feet out of my shoes!" and all these other funny, hilarious quips. But the movie was of its time. So the book itself. Miss Austen takes Cassandra Austen, Jane Austen's sister, as the main character. It is after the death of Jane Austen. Cassandra is processing her effects, living like about a year after, and reflecting, flashing back to memories she has with her sister. And it's really lovely. And its added charm and coziness is because Juliet Stevenson does these accents from the top of the social ladder to the bottom, and makes it very funny with her acting style. So I loved that. And of course I love the subject because Austen is domestic. It's internal conflicts and struggling against society. So it's lovely sort of low stakes themes, I suppose. Depends on whose perspective you're in, but very cozy. And then my final cozy recommendation is going back to fantasy with Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. And this is also more recent again. I read this as an ebook for anyone who's interested in the format. And Half a Soul is the beginning of a finished trilogy. And it is about a girl who grows up with a curse on her that she only has half a soul because elf lord in the forest almost got her soul because of a bargain, and was stopped midway because her sister rescued her by stabbing the elf lord or the fey lord with her sewing scissors, hence the lovely sewing scissor theme, which is delightful. But the coziness comes in with the fact that you have a really nice sister relationship that's being worked on. There's something sort of missing there. You have the main character who really wants to experience life with a full soul, but isn't too bothered about it because she can't get excited. That's part of the half a soul quality. And then someone who she hooks up with to try to fix this half a soul situation, and his whole persona and backstory. And it's just delightful, cozy fantasy. So there you go. That's our cozy vibes. And I did not put this up here. So that's the cozy section. And we'll pause here to say hello to people, to say welcome to this sort of wrap up, mostly fall book recommendations video. If you're new here, subscribe. That would be lovely. I'm going to go into witchy next, so hold on to your witch hats. And yeah, if you are new here, you might be interested to know I am a reader first, but also an author. So check this out. I have 6 books, and you can find them at shop_Margaret at the Bitly links. So ta-da! I would say the trilogy of historical fiction or fabled passages is the most fall vibes of my books, but maybe that's different for different people. Oh, Dulce's Legacy is also back to school, so that starts in the fall too. So anyway, lots of good recommendations. And now let's move into the witchy vibes. Laura says, I want the mug now. The book has amazing illustrations. So is it like the Lucia Map and Lucia books where it's like pretending to be a country woman's diary and really funny, injected with like British humor? Or is it an actual diary of like historic? It's like the illustration I have on here is for one of the months with birds at a bird feeder. And it is lovely. It's very cozy. So fortunately, what I have is December, so it's not necessarily fall. Although winter doesn't start until December 22nd. So, but who's getting technical? No one's getting technical. Rachel is here, hopping by and hugging the like button. Thank you so much, Rachel. Oh, she's saying Fabled Passages was lovely. Thank you, thank you. The others are on my TBR. And Laura with the answer, it's a real diary. Okay. Yeah, I figured that was the case because the other thing that is on here is like December mottos, and it's got like country sayings on there. A green Yule makes a fat cookyard. So yeah, real deal, real tough. But yeah, so I took a picture so I will remember where I saw that book. But I was like, oh, it's that font. It's crazy. I really like that. The mug is from my grandma's collection. So it was in the basement for like 20 years. And recently I've been helping my parents go through stuff. And it came out of the basement and I took it home with me as a memento. So cozy for you. There we go. So let's move on to the witchy recommendations. What do I have first here? Okay, so going back into my overlays, I have another old Booktube one that I read a while ago, Uprooted by Naomi Novik. And she also has a dark academia collection called The Deadly Education, but I haven't read that. It's more recent. But I can't weigh in on that because I haven't read it yet. I can say that Uprooted is very cool for fantasy vibes, but not cozy, right? So very emotional upheaval and like, saving the village type deal and going through some trauma in the forest. So that is what I remember from this. I love the cover. It's very cool. There's like magic and fate and things you don't understand. And I have yet to read Spinning Silver, the next book, the sequel, because I'm really bad at continuing the series. Bad, meaning like I have other books to read. So, But yes, really loved reading this. It will take you through it. It will take you on an emotional journey, or at least it did me. So if you feel like that mood and the witchiness is not like light rom-com vibes, but like, I don't know, hands grasping the earth in desperation and your nails filling with dirt, like that's the vibe you get from Uprooted. So that may be your vibe at the moment. What else do we have? I have the other poll, which is witchy but rom-com, sort of lighthearted vibes. I read this not too long ago, Extra Witchy by Anne Aguirre, and I would say I need to read the other books in this series. It's called Fix It Witches. They're contemporary witches, and it's like urban fantasy, right? So they're hiding their magic, but they're also like looking towards the day where they can just be themselves in public, which would be nice for all of us, right? And along the way, this character gets her romance, but in the other books, we get to see the other characters' romances. And it is LGBTQ inclusive as well. So that will be some of the other storylines. This one is male-female relationship, but it's so cute and so funny and so snappy. And like I said, rom-com vibes definitely make you laugh. And the writing was great. So witchy book rack for the win. And speaking of, well, not a rom-com exactly, right? So again, Libro.fm recommendation. Listen to this on audio. The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. This is the first of hers I have listened to or read. And she came out with the 7-year slip like right after I listened to it. So apparently I took a long time to get to it, or she's just really quick. And I think it's in the same vein, right? So it's contemporary, kind of like literary fiction, but with romance laced through and tragedy or trauma processing laced through. In this case, it was grief. And also supernatural laced through. So it's like a light touch on all those themes so that it can really do justice to the main character's journey and their interactions with multiple secondary characters. I really liked how it was set up. The Dead Romantics is a book about someone who is a ghostwriter in New York City and trying to make it in New York City as a city girl. But she's from, I think, South Carolina, and what can I say that's not a spoiler? So the basic arc of the novel is that she's having writer's block. She can't write a romance because she just had a huge heartbreak in her life and she just can't do it. So she lies to her new editor and is like, yeah, sure, that's coming up. So the first conflict is like, will she get the book in? Then the second conflict is that she has a tragedy happen at home, and that is where the grief comes in. So she goes there, and then you realize she has this whole history of seeing and talking with ghosts. There's a supernatural bent. And we also had a spark of like the beginning of a romance. So she weaves those three in a fun way, and she's discovering things and like dealing with things throughout the novel. And it's pretty transparent what the ghost situation is leading to. But I enjoyed the journey anyway. So it's not that there's actual witches in this one, but it's witchy vibes because he's talking to ghosts. So I figured that was the category that this was in. So I really loved this one and recommend the writing. Let me hop over to the chat. Laura says, has cute paintings of all the birds and flowers she finds. Super cozy. Yay! And just in case you're wondering, cozy is spelled with a Z in the US and an S in the UK. So we're perfectly coexisting happily with the two different spellings. I think about that every time I write it now, and I'm like, is it? Yes, to see. Anita is chiming in. She also likes Uprooted. I really need to get on Spinning Silver. I think I've read a couple other retellings that I wasn't super into, and so whenever it's billed or marketed as like a retelling, I'm always like, I'm a little more skeptical. But I think this one with its setup is going to be backed up enough with like good plot and backstory and world building. Let's see. Do I have more witchy? Yes, I do. More. Pop back to the overlays. I've got another ebook I read. So I think this is one that I found out about on TikTok. This is Radiance by Grace Draven. And you know me, I like to support independent bookstores, bookshop.org, Libro.fm. I am not about the Zon that has claimed the name of the South American rainforest for itself and taken over the world, right? I don't like monopolies. I try to support small businesses and people who are more about the community than the monopoly. So my values were tested with this because it's only available on Amazon, or at least it was when I wanted to read it. I waited. I might have even like queried her and said, hey, are you planning on going wide anytime soon? No, but I really wanted to read it. So I got the ebook. I got the book on Kindle, and I was very glad I did. This is sort of witchy, cozy. So I can't remember what people use to describe it, but I would say it is very unique in this aspect. The fantasy is that there's these two different kingdoms, two different races, and in order to demobilize political rebellions, they marry a couple that are the royals from the different groups, right? Common practice in medieval Europe to quell any sort of violence, bring them closer together. But these two folks are not your typical enemies to lovers. They're like, fine, whatever. I will do this for my people. I'm patriotic. I know this is my duty. But oh my God, those people are ugly, right? And they both think this about each other because they come from such different cultures. And I thought that was a fascinating premise, right? So we've got, you can kind of see it on the cover, but there's things with their eyes and of course their skin and hair and way of speaking, I guess. And so there's this constant like repulsion. But they have to live together and they're both like up to try it. So they start out trying to be friends and honestly exchange ideas about beauty and culture and values systems. And I just thought that was such a cool way to explore it. And then you get into the plot of like setting up the new kingdom or where they're under threat. There's an outside threat, like, and then they start to develop feelings. They catch feelings because, of course, it's a romance. So I love this. And like I said, witchy and cozy because of the slow burn, I would say. Very, very slow burn. So if you're into that, Radiance, Big Grace Draven. And it goes on. I think there's more to the series, obviously, and I wanted to continue. But again, more books than I can ever hope to read and not just on Amazon. So real sacrifice for me. What else? Rachel says, I love the cover art. Is that for Radiance or? I think that's for Radiance because I wasn't here last time. The Zahn is getting taken to court for antitrust. I just saw that. Of course, it was an article in the Washington Post, which Amazon owns, which I thought was hilarious. And I don't pay the Washington Post for a subscription, so I couldn't read the article, but I retweeted it, and I'm not going to say re-X'd it. So, yeah, there was just like a whole full circle of delicious schadenfreude. But yes, Anita, I'm feeling that headline. You're right. Thank you for reminding me. Rachel says, some authors don't know about going wide or get pulled into KU. Yes. KU stands for Kindle Unlimited. If you're curious, it's the kind of exclusive Kindle publishing version that used to be called Kindle Select, KDP Select. And for some genres, it actually can be really helpful to the author to make a name, get some exposure, build up a readership. But for most, I would say like, I don't know, 80% of people and genres and times in their publishing career, I would say it's not advantageous to use KU, but it's great for readers when you're just looking for something to read. So Laura's laughing. Yeah, he looks kind of hot, to be honest. Totally, right? But anyway, so yeah, there's what ideas they play with and concepts that they can argue with in the book, and then there's what they had to do for cover art to get people like me to want to read. So understandable, fair, totally valid. Rachel says, yeah, I had to walk away for a few minutes, so Radiance was what I came back to. Yeah, nice. Re-X. Worst rebrand ever. Hi, Melissa. What's funny is like I use several apps that feed from Twitter, and it's been like a slow rollout of the whole rebranding thing. So every time I'm reminded that, oh, the blue bird goes away and like it's now black X, I'm like, oh, every time something else gets swallowed. A little sad violin. Okay, so witchy, we've got one more. It is Sunshine. Okay, so you probably noticed that I'm slipping vampires and monsters and other things into the witchy category, which I think makes sense. So there are witches in Sunshine by Robin McKinley, but if you've been here a while, you've heard me talk about how much I love this. It's what is its strongest element? I'm not sure. It is a standalone for anyone concerned about that, and I'm sort of mad at it, but that's okay. That's just me. It's this like really big mouth, loud mouth, smart mouthed baker. She lives in a town that doesn't exist. It's in like a alternate world, and she has been marked as someone special. In this world, there's people who used to have magic, and then there's like vampires, and it's kind of like the vampire invasion or whatever. The bloodsuckers are treated kind of like there's a drug war, right? Like it's unmentionables, and we have people to fight it, but we don't want to deal with it with like normal society. That probably says something about me in the drug war. Anyway, so Sunshine is the nickname of this baker, and she gets tossed into the middle of this little vampire brouhaha, if you will, Amy. And so then you get to find out about her backstory, about her family, about more of the lore of this world, and it's fascinating. And then she has to negotiate like coming back to regular society after she survives this ordeal. But now she's also formed a connection with a vampire person who has beef with other vampire people, and yeah, she's torn between the two, and like what is in herself. And it's such a good novel for like discovering things in yourself and talking yourself down from a ledge and like becoming the person you need to be deep down. And then there's also like some scene scenes and like cool like magic in the world of teleportation or whatnot. Anyway, I love this book. This is the one that I will like go back to. Some SJM, but also this book for just like calming reading and good vibes. So those are the witchy reads. Let me pop back into the chat to check in. Oh, Anita says Sunshine is one of her books I haven't read. I really should get to it. Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. The humor in Sunshine is top notch. So that's like the other thing that makes it a fun comfort read is like just giggling because she's just such a hot mess at the beginning and like giving herself shit for it, and you're in her head, and it's just enjoyable. So, okay, we got cozy, we've got witchy, and now we're going to go into dark academia, which if you saw the poll on YouTube, you will know I am not very equipped to make recommendations for, but and I can show you what I was going to wear. So I had a little poll for the earrings. These were my witchy earrings. That's Labradorite, which one person voted for. And these are my dark academia ones because these are like, what's it called? I'm blanking. Not arts and crafts. Yeah, maybe arts and crafts style Chicago architecture that I got when I visited there because it's part of a Louis Sullivan designed building. And so those kind of give me dark academia vibes. But you voted for cozy, so I've got the book spines, which I love as well. Okay, now into the last category, dark academia. And no one who is here for the book discussion on Sunday will be surprised. The first one here is Babel. Okay, this is in hardcover. R.F. Kuang's Babel, An Arcane History, alternatively titled The Necessity for Violence. And I will direct you to Sunday's recent book discussion where I had on RK Stumbling Bear and Lisa in Bookland, and we had a fabulous discussion of this book, its themes, its characters, its style, and I did several shout outs of the Tolkien lecture that R.F. Kuang gave last year, which was, I thought, amazing and dealt with ideological novels, otherwise known as propaganda novels, and novels with a message. And since this is what my historical trilogy leans toward, I was really interested in her points and arguments for this type of book as persuasive fiction. I was like, yes! So please go back and watch our discussion and weigh in on that topic. But to summarize, Babel is dark academia because it takes place, it's a historical fantasy, it's like a second world, she called it, Oxford of the 1830s that has magic, and its magic system is based on the difference in language meanings of words, and it's based in silver. So they mine silver. The British Empire is what it is in the real world, but also with layered on silver magic. So they mine silver, they write in it or engrave in it words and their translations. And whatever difference is in those translations, the sort of things that don't get communicated, creates magic. And it manifests in some way concerned with the meaning that is missing. And I thought this is so fantastic of a concept that, like, brilliant. So anyway, you've got social upheaval based on the fact that the real world issues are still there. There's an industrial revolution that is displacing workers. There is an empire colonizing the world and having, what is it called? Gunship diplomacy, which is not diplomacy at all. It's called bullying around the world. And these students who come from the edges of the empire to be educated and basically perpetuate the power structure of the colonizer. So it treats their individual experiences very minutely in a way that exposes a lot of the greater themes and historical injustices. And it's so heartbreaking. It's so good. This is my Dark Academia pick for like ever. But we'll continue. I have a few more. Checking in with the chat, which is it Art Nouveau? Yeah. I mean, it's more Paris. I don't think Art Nouveau really took off in Chicago. But yes, Art Nouveau, like 1900s, that era. Yeah, thank you. It just says, I miss wearing earrings. Very nice. Yay. Jennifer Brown says, I'll catch up on what I missed on the replay. Thanks for coming by, Jennifer. Oh, just Eva saying, hey, listening while I work. Awesome. Emma Bennett saying, whatcha? Hello, hello. Art Deco. I will keep saying random words. I know it's not Art Deco because that's what came after, like the geometric sort of rebellion against the naturalists. I'm trying to think of the before one that was like into naturalist influenced designs, like the leaves and the curving Hector Guimard stuff. But that's the Paris version, not the Chicago version. So yeah, let's go with Art Nouveau. Thank you, Emma. Oh, yes, subscribe, hit the like button if you haven't already. Thank you for that reminder. Next Dark Academia book. We've got, oh, yes. Okay, so this one did not get a lot of play on Booktube, but I listened to it maybe a month ago, and it was exquisite. So part of that has to do with the narrative structure of the audiobook that I found delightful. That is also reproduced in the book. So there are many different narrators. They don't continue the story. They show you a different view of their part of the story. So that doesn't really make sense. No Two Persons by Erica Bauermeister. This is, and read by a whole bunch of people, so I'm not going to read all their names. But this is basically the take of no two persons step in the same river idea, but turned into book lovers treatment of a book. So it starts with the person who writes a certain book, and then it goes to the editor who received that book, and they're not related stories, right? They're sort of like short stories that have little pieces of each other's here and there that are reflected that you kind of will connect, but it's not really necessary to enjoy the development. And you go to the editor, and then you go to the agent, and then you go to someone who's related, and then you go to like I don't know, someone who picked it up and used it in an art project, and along the line. All these different people, I think there's like 10 or 11. How they interact with this book is unique, whether it's as a reader, as someone who is involved with the process of creating the book, excuse me, as the writer, as the publisher. Oh, and the last one's so heartbreaking. So, yeah, it's just very novel. Yes, it's a very novel approach. And the reason I call it Dark Academia is because several of the characters are going to school, teach at school, talk about education. So it's dark in that it has a very personal, intimate view of like human relations, but it's not like witchy vibes. It's just like a very internal, literary, reflective novel. So maybe I'd miscategorize this, but I really wanted to get it in another video because I don't think people have appreciated it enough. So No Two Persons, beautiful book for anyone who loves books and wants to like soak in that atmosphere a bit more. I think I need to do a different video about books for book lovers that are just like meta, because yes, that's the vibe. Okay, and the final, is it the final? I only have three. I only have three Dark Academia recommendations, and the last one nobody voted for in the poll. Okay, this needs to change. So, The Weight of Ink by Rachel Kadish. It's probably like 8 or 10 years old. I read this from the library. Hands up for like extra formats and inclusivity. It's a dual timeline. It's got a modern academic, an older woman who is struggling to like stay in the game and retain her prestige in I don't know if it's Shakespeare studies or Jewish studies, but she writes on where they intersect. And the past timeline is during Shakespearean time, so like end of the 1500s, late 16th century, early 17th century is when Shakespeare was alive. Anyway, and the plague came to London, and there were Jews living in London at this time, but like not being treated fairly or the same as other folk, right? So I think they had certain laws about what they could do. Anyway, they had a community that was inward facing, and I can't remember the word I'm looking for, but insular, that's what I'm looking for. And worried about the political situation because it's about to crumble because there's all these pressures, the plague and everything. So we go back and forth. The modern academic is trying to discover who wrote a thing. And the past Shakespearean plague times is about this Jewish household, and especially this girl who wants to learn but is significantly hobbled by the fact that she's a girl, it's a Jewish household, and it's at the end of the 16th century. So she has a lucky chance to do some things, but then like things start falling apart. And the same thing happens to the modern academic. And like these two women through time have a really cool parallel / magic. I mean, it's not magic, but it's just really nice. Maybe this is light academia. Maybe this is dark and light academia. But yes. Also for people who are just into books, into learning, into Shakespeare, The Weight of Ink, really beautiful stories interwoven. So that's my dark academia. Put this down. I put this up. We love Libro.fm. We love bookshop.org. And yeah, this is the other thing that I was going to pop in. We're discussing, speaking of witchy and all that stuff, The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern for October's Patreon book club. This one in the poll. So it beat out The 100-Year-Old House. It beat out The Bird's Tale, although I will probably read both of those. Yeah, so if you're interested, check out the link for information on Patreon book club. And there's one more thing. The Wednesday wrap-up portion. Right, because I'm going to pop up our ARCs of the week. We love it. Laura. Spooky reads. Here we go. Hey, Nicole. Yes, the buttercup is here. Jennifer says, I just put a hold on that in my library. Would that be Night Circus? Is that, yes? Is that exciting? Very exciting. Okay, now for the wrap-up portion. And just to like, oh, here we go. It's challenging my ambidextrousness. We're going to pop up overlays for these on the other side. So it's clear I've read these and they are this week's Wednesday wrap-up. So first we have something that a friend has work in. The Grand Mistletoe Assembly, a holiday anthology. And I got an arc from this because my good friend EDK has the story in here. And the cool setup vibe about this is that these 6 authors all wrote stories that happen with the same event as like the whole event. The Grand Mistletoe Assembly is the place for these Regency romance authors to feature as a plot point in their short story and their longer short stories. So that maybe, what's the other word? Not a novella, but a novelette. No, they're novellas, I guess, or short stories. And you've got the holiday vibes. You've got the Regency details of historical stuff if you're into that. And you've got the romance because they all have happy ever afters. The one thing I would say is that editor of the collection, who has the last story, is using villains for her romance, and it's a little disturbing when you're in the head of like anti-Semites. She's a Jewish historical fiction writer, and these are characters in her normal series, and so she flipped for like a villain romance for her short story. So it's a little disturbing to read because they're constantly like muttering racist imprecations. And she sets it up saying, hey, I know this is not okay, but I just want to show that it was out there in Regency times. So it's kind of like the flip side of the Bridgerton things. It's like the fact that they're having actors and actresses of color portray people in high society. Maybe that happened here and there, but it wasn't all like that. But why not tell those stories any way we want now? This is more like, this is the villainy and evil and terrible ideas that people had in this time, and I'm going to just put you in these people's heads and make you listen to them. So I didn't really enjoy that. But the other ones are like clean, sweet romance and fun stuff. Edie's obviously is going to deal with ladies boxing, and I love it. So I just got to have more of that. And the others deal more with, you know, women's expectations and flouting society. And the other one I really liked was about being introduced and how hard that was, and how the lengths that someone went to be introduced to the person he was interested in. And it's just really cute. So if you want like bite-sized reads for a holiday vibe, I would definitely recommend the Grand Mistletoe Assembly. And it's only 99 cents. So you can pick it up on Bookshop, or if you must, it's on the Zone. So I'll pop that in the description, or not the description, the chat, but it's also in the description. Oh, let's see. Jill says, I need to do that for Night Circus. Put it on hold. Ooh, yay! Yeah, it's like everyone recommends it, and I still haven't read it, so that needs to be remedied. And Anita just started reading the Grand Mistletoe Assembly. Yay! Sweet. I hope you enjoy it as well. Oh, Jennifer put on hold No Two Persons, not Night Circus. Oh, okay. Yes, it's, oh, I hope you love it. I really enjoyed it. I listened to it while I was out walking. And it was just, some you will connect to more than others, and I'll be curious which characters you love the best, which stories you love the best, Jennifer. So definitely touch base with me after this, because I haven't heard anyone else talk about it. But like some of them and the struggles they're going through is like someone was reaching in and like pinching my heart, because it was like, so good, so well written, so well narrated. So, yeah, hope you enjoy it. Yikes. Yes. Historical accuracy. I mean, try it, right? I mean, in terms of expanding horizons and trying to hear someone's message, maybe you'll get something different than I did. That is the link. So yeah, 5 stories, regular Regency romance, even if you don't want to read the last one. But give it a try, I would say. We got Lula Reads. Hello, welcome. And then the final arc is Harpers Wife, which you will note is square. So that means I was listening to this one on Libro.fm as an ALC, an advanced listening copy. And I think I am in a very small pool of the population here. The Farmer's Wife, My Life in Days by Helen Rebanks is so I think her husband's book is called The Shepherd's Life, and it's by James Rebanks, and I read that a couple years ago. I think I got a used copy of it somewhere, and so maybe 5 years later, his wife wrote this book, which is just coming out. And so it's like the wife's side of the story. I just think this is so funny that they've both written books while they're only a few years older, right? So I'm 42. I think she's like 44, 45, and he's maybe 48, 49 by now. So they're like Gen X. And they're basically talking about the struggle to be a socially responsible farmer and shepherd. So they keep sheep in the Lake District in England. And he talks about his journey from living on the hill farm and what's entailed in making it work, growing up there, going off, learning a bunch of stuff, coming back. And she talks about more the motherhood stuff. So she goes into detail about her day. She's basically taking you through a day, but then also long flashbacks into her development, her decision making, her coming of age, basically. And, you know, falling in love with James, obviously, and doing some travel and realizing where she fits. And then in the second half, she goes a lot more into the motherhood stuff. So if that's your bag, Emma Bennett, I think you might enjoy this. I really liked a lot of it. Some of the pregnancy stuff was a little too much for me. And I think it probably needs a content warning for some of the pregnancy stuff, especially for people who have had I can't think of the word. Pregnancies end early, I'll say, and that sort of thing. So that said, there's a lot of detail, and I appreciated Esme Cook, who is the narrator. She reminds me of, if there are any North and South fans in the house, I feel like she is the character of John Thornton's sister. The voice sounds exactly the same to me. So the Yorkshire broad dialect, it's delightful. So I enjoyed maybe 75% of this and was a little uncomfortable with some of it. But I really like hearing about people who are trying to be socially responsible, farm regeneratively, find new ways to do things. Besides the motherhood, there's a bit about there's a bit that's about this whole farming and eating meat responsibly, and she goes on a bit of a diatribe about people who are trying to do plant-based diet because that can be worse for you and worse for the planet than responsible livestock raising. And it gets a bit preachy for me, which is saying something. So, 3.5 stars. You gotta take all of someone's creation. So yeah, I enjoyed it. And if you're looking for some of those things but are okay with those triggers, then have at it. She majored in art, and I'm wondering if the cover is her illustrations, because that would be really cool. But I don't know. Doesn't say. That's my little mini Wednesday wrap up. Let's see. Jennifer Brown. I think I have about 10 weeks before I will actually get the book. Oh my goodness. No 2 persons. That's a long wait list. I will definitely touch base with you after I read it. Awesome. Sweet. Lula Reads says, I've got 5 books to read for an upcoming readathon in October. Ooh, nice. This is a perfect segue. So today was all about autumn, fall book recommendations for my 3 favorite moods, cozy, witchy, and dark academia, because some of them fit in there. But Friday, during my productivity sprint for Final Friday, I'm going to go over my TBR for the readathons that I will be doing in October. So Lula, which readathon are you talking about? very curious. I also have 2 library books checked out, and 1 more audiobook to listen to before I cancel Audible. That's music to my ears. I hope you're switching to Libro.fm or the whatever the library one is. There's a couple of different library apps to listen to audiobooks, so definitely check those out. Jennifer says, I have several short story collections checked out from my library that I need to read before I have to give them back. There. Plus, I have the books on hold at the library that will come in. Oh, so you're looking forward to a flood. Gotcha. Gotcha. So that is my recommendations. Wrap up. I almost did a haul as well, but I'll save the haul for later. I wanted to do like all the types of Booktube content at once. And then I figured that was probably going to be too much. That's okay. That's okay. We stand doing too much. Oh, okay. So Lula Reads says she's going to be participating in Becca's Bookopoly-a-thon in October. And I was just watching Pages with Pages video where she said it's usually in September, but they moved it over to October, which is awesome. Excuse me. And she will be participating too. That's one of the ones that's more involved, like with roles and plays and a game board and stuff. So that's too much for me. But I will be giving recommendations for the 3 things that I'm participating in October. Gothic Feels for my Patreon book club, October, which is Victorian literature, and Blackoween, which is Black crime mystery authors with Bree. So, yay! So look forward to that on Friday when you can join me for some productivity. We could have handled too much. Okay. Fine, Emma. The book haul is pretty small. I did a book swap with Amy from A-Star Reads, who was one of my Fireside Chat guests, and we swapped books. So she did a book haul in one of her recent Suffer-a-thon vlogs that she showed the packages that I sent her, and I will show them here. The one that she sent me, we've got The Light Between Oceans by M.L. Stedman, which is a gorgeous cover. And this was going to be for Straya September, but I am so much of a slow coach for my Straya September that I am still reading The Fatal Shore, the nonfiction tome that I selected first. So, choices, we have to live with them. And the other one is The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett, which is like a Booktube favorite, the sort of modern retelling with a twist of Passing by Nella Larson. So I've read the original Passing, but this one is like with a twist. They're sisters, and one of them is passing for white. So it's like very modern social commentary literary novel. Not my usual fare, and very hyped. So we will see how I enjoy those. But thank you so much, Amy at A-Star Reads. That's my mini book haul. And now I've done all 3 types of content in one video. So there, Emma Bennett. Lula says, I am not planning on replacing Audible. I'm just going to not have audiobooks for a while until I can afford Audible again. Okay, well, that's a good choice as well. Being responsible. I get it. Emma says, pretty books. Yes, I know. And Lula says, Emma, she recently read Her Perfect Hero, which is one of Emma's books. That's amazing. I love it. Connections in the chat. We love it. And Laura says, I love any book with a lighthouse. So there you go. Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting read. Lighthouse keepers who find a child, bring the child up, don't ask any questions. Like, that's going to have a story, right? Leslie says, The Vanishing Half is so good. Oh, good. Okay. I haven't read Britt Bennett before either. So, yeah. Shannon says, hey, sorry I missed the beginning. Hey, Shannon. Attending a webinar. I will catch the replay. And she made friends with the like button. Thanks, Lula. Yay. Okay, so there. We did the haul. We did all 3. I'm not going to change the title for that, though. Okay, was there anything else I missed? Let me check my outline. So, Grand Mistletoe Assembly and Patreon Book Club, and I think that's everything. I mean, if you're wondering what else I'm into or what I'm up to, it's always down in the description. What's coming up for me is the final Friday, so I will have productivity sprints where I'll also be dipping in to talk about readathon recommendations, as I said. And then I will have my end of the month fireside chat with Novel Idea as my guest. She is a fellow booktuber, and we will probably be doing some reading sprints. So that's twice on Friday, 9 to 11 Pacific time and 5 p.m. Pacific time. So join us for either or both, whatever you have inclination for. Happy fall, everybody. I hope it's transitioning easily for folks and you're enjoying a little bit of cool weather. Fire danger is down and you're enjoying your September readathons and wrapping those up. And yeah, all the best wishes for everybody. Yay! Eva's got AC. It's a lovely chat. Love the top and hair and earrings. Thank you. So this is like persimmon, so I figured that was a nice fall color. This is wool. I had to get it out of the box, that I had stored in so that the moths wouldn't get to it. And these are the cozy earrings people chose. So that is everything. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Hope to catch you on Friday for one or two or both live streams. And happy reading, everybody. Take care.